The Caspian Sea, an inland body of water long thought untouchable, became the stage for a confrontation that shocked the world. North Korea, a close ally of Russia, secretly transferred nearly 5,000 tons of massive military cargo, aerospace electronic modules, navigation devices, gyroscopes, thousands of crates of 122mm rockets, and enough components to assemble more than 25,000 Shahed drones. Each one carries a 40 kilograms warhead, enough to unleash terrifying nightmares over Ukraine's skies. The entire consignment was shipped aboard the vessel Port Olia 4, with a clear objective: supply ammunition for large-scale strikes to weaken Ukraine's air defenses and sow horror from above. But Ukraine, through extraordinary grit and ingenuity, turned the maritime pride of Russia and North Korea into a global humiliation. 14 UJ-26ER drones, each with a warhead equivalent to 88 pounds of TNT and a range exceeding 750 miles, were launched in a perfectly coordinated attack, backed by a secret system the world had never heard of. So what exactly was the secret weapon Ukraine used to stop 5,000 tons of military cargo before it reached the battlefield? Join us as we dig into this operation, where modern technology met strategic cunning, and how it changed the shape of contemporary warfare. To understand it, we need to rewind. The Caspian has long been considered Russia's safe backyard, sitting more than 800 kilometers from the Ukrainian front. It's the lifeline for aid from allies like Iran and North Korea, where military goods can move without interference. According to international intelligence, Russia ramped up use of this route from 2022, when Western sanctions made land and air logistics harder. Port Olia 4, a 360-foot ship with a 4,900-ton deadweight, was more than a transport platform. It symbolized the shadowy military partnership between Moscow and Pyongyang. The ship regularly transited the Volga-Don Canal, the giant engineering link between the Volga and Don rivers that lets Caspian vessels reach Russia's interior with ease. At 12 a.m. local time in the Caspian region, 14 drones lifted off from fields deep inside Ukrainian territory. Each carried an 88-pound TNT equivalent warhead, enough explosive to tear metal and wreak havoc. They flew in tight formation, hugging the night sky like an invisible bomber squadron. Their target had been tracked for days by satellites and intelligence analysts. The North Korean-flagged Port Olia 4, anchored in the Volga-Don waterway on the Caspian. On deck sat a vast arsenal, roughly 5,000 tons of drone parts, electronic modules, gyroscopes, navigation gear, and ammunition crates. Estimates showed the cargo could assemble over 25,000 Shahed-type drones, each with a 40 kilograms warhead, nearly 1,000 tons of explosives, in sum enough for weeks of non-stop bombardment over Ukraine. Moreover, Western intelligence reported these Shahed drones were no ordinary munitions. They're designed to fly low, evade radar, and inflict heavy damage on civilian infrastructure, forcing Ukrainian civilians to live in constant fear. The ship's captain believed geography was the ultimate shield. 800 kilometers from the front, the Caspian had always seemed inviolable. That night, Ukraine was ready to prove otherwise. Between midnight and dawn on the 14th, a steady flow of intelligence fed Ukrainian planning desks. Commercial Japanese satellites using synthetic aperture radar, SAR, conducted multiple passes over the Caspian. Unlike optical satellites, SAR ignores clouds and darkness. At 2:20 a.m. local time, a radar sweep confirmed the outline of Port Olia 4 anchored in place for almost 6 hours. Analysts measured hull list, anchor line tension, even drift rate, confirming the ship had no plans to move. Signals intercepts added another layer. The vessel maintained strict radio silence, no external comms, no active radar, emitting only faint traces from auxiliary systems. What the crew thought was prudence became a fatal weakness. The silence gave a perfect predictive window. Ukrainian planners recognized an ideal moment for a multi-axis strike. For this mission, they prepped 14 UJ-26ER drones, an advanced homegrown design. Developed from civilian drone tech but upgraded with powerful engines and precision guidance. Each composite airframe minimized radar cross-section to avoid high-priority alerts. With auxiliary tanks, they could fly nearly 750 miles. Cruise speed was set at 112 miles per hour, slow enough to slip past radar clutter, fast enough to keep schedule. Hybrid guidance blended GNSS with inertial navigation, assisted by electro-optical confirmation. Even under GPS jamming, each drone could home in during the final seconds. Warheads were tailored. 6 fragmentation charges to shred cables, crew cabins, and thin deck plating. 4 semi-armor piercing to punch holes through bulkheads and vents. 2 with delayed fuses strong enough to snap girders and crack the waterline before detonating inside. And the last 2 designated as relay drones, flying at 1,600 feet to extend comms and feed real-time data over water. The attack timeline split into 4 approach waves. Group 1 targeted the stern engine room and exhausts. Group 2 hit the bow bridge and 4 compartments. Group 3 worked midships, breaking girders and opening waterline breaches. The final pair served as decoys and blockers, ready to detonate near lifeboats. By 4 a.m., everything was synchronized. The drones lay hidden on dispersed launch racks across Ukrainian fields, engines primed, awaiting the cue. What do you think? Was Russia justified in launching a full-scale invasion by citing Ukraine's NATO ambitions? Comment 8 for yes, or 6 for no. At 5 a.m., a secret system called Spectre came online, not a weapon, but a sophisticated electronic warfare mesh flooding coastal radar scopes with ghosts, monitoring screens along the Caspian lit with false returns. As if dozens of fishing boats had suddenly congregated, patrol teams reported constant contradictions. The distraction was exactly what Ukraine needed. At 5:10 a.m., 14 UJ-26ER drones launched in sequence from dispersed sites inside Ukraine, 12 with warheads, 2 as relays. Wings locked, engines roared, and they skimmed low over the terrain. Flight paths converged on the Caspian from 4 axes. At 65,200 feet AGL, they hugged rivers and open water. 2 drones loitered at to 1,000 feet to maintain links to Ukrainian controllers, cruising around 100 miles per hour. The formation was tight, methodical, and hard to detect. By late morning, Port Olia 4 still lay at anchor. Seemingly tranquil, the 360-foot ship carried nearly 5,000 tons of North Korean cargo. Electronic modules, gyroscopes, navigation gear, and ammo crates. Analysts estimated enough components for 25,000 Shahed drones. In destructive potential, that's over 2 million pounds of explosives power to turn multiple cities into hellscapes. The 40-person crew had no idea they were minutes from disaster. Intelligence also indicated the ship carried advanced North Korean tech that could help Russia upgrade drones against Ukraine's modern air defenses. At 10:28 a.m., the first drone slammed in. An 8-pound TNT equivalent fragmentation charge struck a stern ventilation trunk. The blast ripped open decking and spat fire through cable runs. Alarms screamed as a 40-foot plume flared. Shockwaves rattled the engine room. Sailors were thrown, dazed by smoke and thunder. Seconds later, another drone tore open the starboard waterline. The semi-AP warhead left a gash nearly 6 feet long. Seawater poured in. Pumps kicked on but failed as electrics shorted. Within minutes, the ship listed a few degrees to starboard. Then came the next wave. Midships impacts, one smashing a hatch cover, another ripping the port waterline. Explosions snapped girders and joints. Shards of metal scythed across the deck. Fire mains sputtered. Pressure vanished. On the bridge, glass shattered, panels blew out, power died. Red emergency lights flickered as smoke filled compartments. The captain tried to send a distress call, but the radio antenna had been shredded. The ship was now blind and deaf. By 10:38 a.m., the situation was irretrievable. Multiple compartments flooded. Fires out of control. Crew beginning to abandon ship. Lifeboats splashed into the water. Black smoke poured from the stern. Flames climbed 50 feet. A drone ruptured the shaft tunnel. Oil spilled and ignited instantly. The stern became an inferno. When coastal patrol craft tried to assist, they hit the blocking blows. At 10:41 a.m., 2 drones detonated along the approach lane. The blasts erected a wall of fire across the channel. Shockwaves rattled windows ashore. An underwater burst through an 80-foot column, forcing a tug to turn back. No rescue could break through. By 10:50 a.m., Port Olia 4 was mortally wounded. 11 drones had struck hull and superstructure. 2 had interdicted rescue. Fires raged unchecked. Bilge pumps drowned. Metal groaned as girders failed. The ship heeled, bow rising, stern sinking, rolled to one side, and vanished beneath the surface within minutes. The operation didn't end with the sinking. Hours later, at 2:30 p.m., commercial satellites confirmed the wreck. Imagery showed Port Olia 4 on the Caspian seabed. Smoke still bubbled at the surface. Analysts tallied the damage. Nearly 5,000 tons of North Korean supplied equipment destroyed, over 25,000 drone kits, and close to 1,000 tons of warheads negated. 2 Ukrainian drones were intercepted, but the rest completed their mission. The consequences were undeniable. An inland sea once considered out of reach had been breached. A single coordinated strike removed thousands of drones from the war, shattered the illusion of safety, and forced all cargo ships in the region to sail under a cloud of fear. Port Olia 4 now lies beneath the Caspian. Smoke still churned at the surface, marking the grave of a ship that had carried thousands of tons of military cargo. Open-source analysts reviewed imagery, matching cranes and shoreline features to verify location. The evidence left no room for doubt. Massive losses: nearly 5,000 tons of North Korean material, 25,000 drones worth, and nearly 1,000 tons of explosive warheads destroyed. On the battlefield, weeks of bombardment vanished in a single morning. For the first time, an inland sea presumed invulnerable was shown to be exposed. The Caspian is no longer a safe haven. Strategic ripples spread wide. Regional maritime insurance spiked. Cargo vessels began sailing under false identities or with AIS transponders off. Tugs and escorts were reassigned, slowing port cycles. Every countermeasure created new choke points. Caspian littoral states convened emergency meetings, fearing their waters could become a contested battleground. Yet beyond the destruction, a larger question surfaced. If one strike can swing the supply balance, could similar efforts be steered toward peace? Ukrainian officials stressed the target was military cargo, not human life. Crew were allowed to evacuate, and international observers later noted rescue corridors were not attacked as the ship went down. The dual message: Ukraine can reach far, but seeks to minimize loss of life. Calls for dialogue followed. Neutral countries pushed both sides to consider a maritime monitoring accord to prevent escalation and protect civilian shipping. Humanitarian groups advocated salvage efforts not only to recover materials, but to prevent environmental damage to the Caspian, a fragile ecosystem home to hundreds of rare fish and bird species. Some analysts argue the operation's success opened a new chance to turn fear into negotiation. In essence, the sinking of Port Olia 4 is more than a military win. It proves geography no longer guarantees safety. Yet it also reminds us that even in war, choices remain. Technology can sink ships, but it can also enforce limits, protect civilians, and perhaps open a narrow path toward peace. If you found this video useful, hit like and subscribe to Military Shield now to help us reach 10,000 subscribers and keep bringing you deeper battlefield analysis. This is Military Shield Now, where every strike has a story. See you on the next mission. Drop a comment, where you're from, your age group, and which military niche you love most. Your input is the channel's content map,